Ooh, what's up, you beautiful steppers? Hey, today we're about to go ahead and jump into private money paperwork. So I told you guys a little bit last week about the paperwork. Never mind me. I'm a little crusty right now. I just came back jogging on the beach. But check this out. I told you guys about private money paperwork. So today we're going to actually break down the paperwork. And I'm going to show it to you. You can download it yourself. Let's get right into it. All right, you steppers, let's get right into the business. So check this out. We're about to go and break this down from me purchasing the property directly from the previous owner all the way to me finding the private money lender and signing all the private money documentation, okay? So if you like to check out more real estate contracts and more real estate information, make sure to check out that list. It's in the description. And if you find any of this information helpful, help the channel out, help the movement out by giving this video a like and going ahead and subscribing to the channel if you would like to figure out, more information. So let's start from the beginning. I figured out about this deal once I got it. I bought it for $50,000 on August 3rd, directly, with the actual owner, previous owners that was here with the sellers, and then buyers is going to be your LLC. And remember, this works two ways, guys. If you're an investor out there, if you're a stepper out there that has money sitting to the side, you're trying to figure out how to have your money start work for you, then you want to make sure you're working with a real estate specialist or a specialist that understands the process of what it takes to actually, do the deal itself and the ins and outs of how to get into the deal and also how to exit the deal. So you have to, it's all about having an exit strategy. That's one of the biggest things with any real estate deal. That's no different than any deal that you get into. You have to have the exit strategy. You have to begin with the end in mind. And that's really the only way that it will be able to work out. If you can't begin with the end in mind, then you shouldn't go into it in the first place. So that's the biggest thing here. And also, if you're a stepper that's out here, looking to attract private money, then just stick around to the end. And also, if you're just somebody that's just interested on how to just, find a way, a journey, just finding on how to do something great, guys. Stick around, just be exposed to this, be exposed to real estate. Be exposed to different ways of attaining success. That's how I figured about this. It was all through a Breakfast Club interview. You know what I'm saying? Watching a Breakfast Club interview, figuring out about Mark Whitten back in 2018, talking about wholesale real estate. That just got me. That was the first time I was exposed to wholesale real estate. The first time I was exposed to a way to be successful beyond real estate. Beyond college and also beyond sports and entertainment. So that was the first way I was exposed to any of that. You feel me? So just stick around and figure it out. You never know how to marinate years from now. So this is what it looked like. 15 days, buyer inspection. Buyer will pay all closing costs minus any unpaid taxes, mortgages, or liens. You can download this for free. Link is in the description. So this is the actual purchase agreement. Now, I ended up getting this property reduced. So I decided to get the contract reduced because after about 5 days after me shooting out as a wholesale deal, nobody was really interested because, it would have been like a $1,000 assignment fee. Basically me selling it at like $51,000 if I was to actually get somebody to close on it. There weren't people that was really interested in it. So just to break down the actual numbers of it, this was back in 2020. Obviously the real estate market has changed a ton in that short period of time. But back in this time, this property was rented at $875 a month. And I would say the ARV is in like a C plus neighborhood on the west side of town. The ARV was about 115, somewhere up in there. It would have been a great rental though, right? So the thing was, the way I looked at it is like a year from that date or really within like 6 months, I would have been able to, if I would have put like 15, 20 into it, I feel like you would have been able to get a 125, 130 ARV. So now we're talking about $60,000 profit as far as with it being a flip. So this is what I thought about the deal itself, which is why I decided to keep it. So I decided to keep it, and then I decided to get a private money lender. So the private money lender, I already discussed that they would be able to close on the deal just based off the pictures, right? So I decided to go ahead and get the price reduced. So I got the price reduced to $48,000. So a $2,000 reduced. This is what this is, a contract addendum. And if you'd like to learn more about the contract addendums, it's all in our real estate contracts playlist. So the real estate contract addendum just basically, it's a change to the addendum of a contract. That's no different than any contract. If you do an addendum, it just changes the initial terms of it. So you have to state what those terms are which this is what this is. It was the buyer takes responsibility of the $875 security deposit. They did not want to put down a security deposit. Most times on your real estate transactions, that seller, the person who's selling the property, they should also deduct from their net earnings, like their proceeds. The security deposit should be included inside of that. The buyer should not be responsible for it, but it's not a deal killer, right? So you don't want to kill your whole deal, and that's just about, being able to compromise. You don't want to kill your whole deal based on $875. But I was able to get them down $2,000 with the reduction of that price. So, I was like, all right, I'll take on that security deposit, but, will you guys reduce this, back to 2K? And it all worked out. It was a win-win situation. A win-win is always how you win. That's with anything. So this being said, this is what I was able to accomplish, got the price down, and this is the real estate contract. So now from the real estate contract addendum, we go to the actual private money and how this all sets up, right? So this is the private money contract. The private money contract is directly with the private money lender. Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of context here, right? So before we dive into it and break down the details, the context is that, private money, there's different ways to do it, right? So you can have private money when you close it in the actual, like in your LLC, or it can close in the private money lender's LLC. So for this one, this is my first private money deal. One of my first ones that I did. And they had it closed it in their LLC, right? So this was closed in their LLC. So in their LLC, instead of it being closed in my LLC. So why would you do that, right? The reason why this will happen is because if you close it in your LLC, being mine, you have more control of the property. So if I close in my LLC, I got more control of the property. If you, watching this, if you're somebody that's, an investor that's looking to a financial investor, you want to have the property ideally in your LLC, especially if you got all the skin in the game, which means, I'm not putting up any money. And also you're in a position where you don't have any like bond or any type of previous history with this person that you're doing business with, right? So we haven't done business together before. You ideally want to control it as much as possible, because now, you're in a position where I cannot sell the property without you signing off on it. So that's the position that you're going to be in. Whereas if I had the property in my LLC, I can sell the property without you really ever being knowledgeable of it. And I'll just, pay you when I want to pay you. So that's the thing. But, obviously for several reasons, that won't be the case. That's something that you would do, because really your reputation precedes anything. But that's just a risk that you would be having to willing to take if you're a private money lender out there. So maybe if you're somebody that's actually a private money lender, a financial partner that's done this, a few times, then you're going to be more hands-on like this person is, right? Because they understand the whole process. Whereas if you're a more passive private money lender, right? So if you're somebody that's out there, you're working you have your regular job that you're doing, you're not even thinking about how to invest in real estate. Like, you're not even thinking about the ins and outs of the actual deal itself. You just, somebody came to you, told you can get a 12% return, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Just, here's some money. And you have money sit inside, here's some money, and I'll handle the rest. And y'all got some type of relationship and some type of rapport already built up. So you're going to be way more hands-off than somebody that's more hands-on, being that, this is what they do. They got real estate that they own, they got real estate that they're working on, and also they got money that they're lending out. So it's a whole corporation, whereas it being just a single person. So that's just something to think about as far as how you want to invest your money, how you look at your, your situation, how your time period works. That's something you want to just consider for yourself as far as being a private money investor. Now, as if you're following this from my point of view, then stick around. But let's go ahead and break down what the contract is, the private money contract. So here we go. This agreement was made September 4th between the private money lender and, me. Property, and this was my, whatchamacallit. Now, guys, there's going to be some things blanked out. I think I already told you that. All right, so this was that address, and now here we are. Whereas it is in the intention and desire of the parties to enter into a mutually beneficial agreement wherein blank will fund the purchase of the property known as
blank. So this was the actual property address that we bought. Hereafter the property, and whereas blank. So this is the borrower. So the P's is me, the actual person that's borrowing the money. Now I want to dive into this part. So the borrower will be rehabbing the property with the ultimate goal to sell the property at a profit. It is hereby agreed by and between the parties here too. All right, so just to stay there real quick, rehabbing the property was really a big thing, right? So this lender, when you rehab the property, that's how they do business, right? So they want you to actually rehab the property. They do offer transactional lending, right? So they offer transactional lending, meaning if I just needed $48,000 to double close on a property, so $48,000, then I was going to sell the property at $60,000. If I just needed it like that, then they will be able to, lend me the $48,000, and then I get $60,000, then I pay them, $500, and then I take out, my $11,500. Well, I take home that, they get $500. That's transactional lending. This was a private money loan that's meant to go through a certain time period. You'll see that, but it was really a big thing because another thing that you can do is just when you're wholesaling and you're in a wholesaling space is you can do what's called a hotel deal, which means that I could have went in this property, painted it on the outside, or just, did something really small to it, did a little bit of cosmetics, and just put it right back on the market within 3 weeks or within a month. And I would have got in and out of the property. But you'll see why in a second, why that's not a thing that they want you to do here. And the reason why ultimately is they want to maximize their profits. All right, so one, lender will purchase the property for the sum of $48,000. Borrower, in consideration of blank funding, so in lender funding, the purchase of the property agrees to pay to lender the sum of $875 per month, beginning on the 4th day of October 2020, with the minimum total of payments of $2,500 for the property. Among the $875, $480 is interest payment. The rest is for insurance, fee, principal deduction, late fee will be charged for $50 if not received by the 9th of each month, and all accounts 30 days past due will be charged 2% service fee per month. Okay, so what does that mean? So there was $875. Remember I told you guys that's what it was being rented for. It's rented for $875. Now, this was a 12%. Give me a second. Wow. Okay, I'm back. Hey, I had to get that water for real. All right, so look. So this borrower, there was $875. $875 is what the property was being rented for each month. So it's getting rented at $875 a month. The actual interest rate was a 12%, annually interest rate. So that breaks down to 1% each month. So this is where you get the $480 as far as your interest payment, right? So that interest payment is 1% of the total price because you have 12% annual interest. So this being said, the minimum payments was $2,500. So that $2,500 is not $2,500 in just interest payment. That $2,500 is $875 per month. Now, one thing that can be misconstrued when you're dealing with private money is that if you're getting $875 a month, right? You may be thinking, and this is why I said, think about this. If you're the person that's, have your money in this, you're gonna want your name on the actual title. And the reason why is right here. This is one of the reasons. I'm getting $875 a month, right? So at me as an investor getting $875 a month, I only owe you $480 as far as your interest payment, right? So the interest payment is only $480. So that means that the $480 is $875 minus that $480. You got what? $395. So that $395 is something that's a profit, ideally, right? So it's profit in quotation. So when I say profit in quotation, is because it's profit because I'm able to keep it as far as the difference, but at the same time, I still owe you $48,000. So I'm not keeping money. I can't keep money while I owe you. But the fact of the matter is the rest does have to go, to the insurance and whatever else that needs to happen. Now the insurance is in a situation where the insurance doesn't cost $395 a month, right? Usually when you're dealing with property, you pay your insurance for the entire year or at least 6 months in advance. So you probably have, $500 property yearly insurance, which means that you pay that with one payment. So I still could have money sitting in my pocket that I'm making, but I still owe you money. So this is why if you are, hands-on with private money lending, you're actually going to want to have this in your name. You want to do everything possible to have the title, the property itself in your name, because you can have people out there making money while they still owe you money, which don't make sense. But at the same time, on the flip side of things, if you're a real estate specialist that's in this, that's doing this, and like I said, your reputation precedes anything. If anything, you want to give them and pay more, like keep paying to the actual, to the whatchamacallit, or just make sure that you're rehabbing the property and make sure that, even pay a little bit more than that total payment of $2,500. But just do something to just go beyond and go the extra mile. That way you feel like, your investors feel like that they're getting something out of it, that they're getting something that they don't get anywhere else, right? So they get somebody who actually understands the game a little bit more than other people that they may deal with that may be just in it for themselves. So it's a major difference in how you want to approach it, but this is a big key. So also $50 late fee, if you were late, and then also the service charge being 2%. So if you're 30 days late. So this is basically what this means, guys. So like I said, there's transactional lending, and then there's, long-term private money lending. And you want to, if you're transactional, you're not going to pay $2,500 on $48,000, right? So if in transactional lending, you probably would have paid $500 on a $48,000, fee, like I just explained to you earlier with the $60,000. But for long term, they're going to at least want to get their money, because this is how they eat, right? So they're getting money by giving you money, so they want to at least get $2,500 out of it. So that breaks down to whatever profit that they're getting, because they are covering somewhat of some insurance costs. All right, so here we go. Lenders shall not fund the rehab and purchase of the property beyond the sum of $48,000. So your lenders should not be funding the property beyond the $48,000 purchase price. That's all that means. The buyer shall adopt safety pursuance, and this is just really right here. All of this right here, guys, it just explains, the buyer itself has to be responsible for keeping the property up to code, keeping the property, making sure that it passes the inspections, and make sure that the property, is suitable for a suitable work environment for who they have. Basically stating that the actual person who's lending the money is not responsible for the rehab project itself. That's all on the borrower. So the person who's borrowing the money, that's who's responsible for everything revolving around keeping a good work environment for the rehab project. That's all this states right here. Now, line 5, borrower shall obtain a necessary insurance for injuries to life or property, and the borrower shall insure the property against loss to the extent of $48,000. So remember, I told you earlier, when you have the property in your name, the person who's paying the insurance is going to be the person who's lending the money. So your lender is going to be paying the insurance, but this is also involved with, if you have workers that's working at the work site, then you may want to have them insured, because if they get hurt, then they could come and sue you and not the actual lender. So this is also what that goes with. If you have, contractors there and y'all don't have an agreement with the contractors, that you're not responsible. Because that's how this all works, guys. Like, you got to understand, this is everything that you're dealing with is going to be dealing with contracts. Like, you're dealing with contracts, and they all don't get lost in the real estate idea of it. It's not just about real estate. It's like this with any field that you really work within, when you're working with people, and when you're working in a collaborative environment beyond in like a workspace, right? When I say workspace, means beyond a job. This is completely different if you're working at Walmart and you have to, talk to your employee in a different aisle or like a different lane or something like that. it's different because like this is in order for two independent people or entrepreneurs to come together, or companies to come together, B2B companies, anything like that. In order for this to work, that element to work, the A, B to C, the B to B, the A to C, all of that, for that to work, there has to be documentation, ideally. And this is like one thing I want you to keep in mind here is I'm going to show you at the end. This was prepared by an attorney. However, when I actually went through this, I did not go through it with an attorney. And that's something that's, I learned moving forward, especially it's like, this was really simple as far as the paperwork for me to look at, and the person I was dealing with, I trusted them, but I really did trust them. But when you're really dealing in paperwork, me looking back at it, and when I read this, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know that I signed this away. I didn't know that I signed this away. So I say this to say, you're going to want an attorney to look through this paperwork, no matter if you're going to, use the paperwork that I provide to you guys, or, that you find online. You're going to want an attorney to look through it, because there was things that being, a young investor, 2020, I was like 21 or 22 when I did this deal. I was 22 when I did this deal. And still a young investor, new in the game. But at the same time, guys, I trusted the person, like I said, because they have a good reputation and all of that. Like, they're not screwing people over or anything like that in the business. But at the same time, me reading it, there still was things that I wish I would have understood more at the time. And me looking back, hindsight 2020, I'm like, okay, I should have had somebody read over this, as far as, a lawyer or whatever, just to break down certain things. And you're going to see what I mean soon. All right, so look, that's what that means. And you got to sign this page, you know what I'm saying? The financial partner, and then you sign the page. Buyer or borrower should bear all expenses, including but not limited to utilities, water, gas, and electric, and maintenance of the property. So that right there, the utility, water, gas, and all that. So the good thing about this specifically is that there was already the actual tenant covered all utilities. So I wasn't paying anything. So literally the tenant was covering all utilities, and then I was just giving the investor, their money every month. So that's how that worked out right there. When the property is sold, lender shall pay the borrower at the time of closing an amount calculated as follows: sale proceeds minus the $48,000 minus the cost of home insurance paid by lender minus any property tax / fees paid by lender. If sale proceeds is less than $48,000, blank, borrower agrees at the time to give lender a mortgage with right to sell any properties borrower may own to cover the repayment of all sums advanced by lender for purchase and rehab, including interest and attorney fees and collection costs. Okay, so remember when I said, like I just said, as far as me wishing I had an attorney read over it, it was for this part, because I didn't notice. Like, now here's the thing. The market was stable enough in that time, and like I explained to you guys in the first episode, just of the private money list, private money 101, if you dealing in the market and you're getting private money, ideally, almost always, you want to get an off-market deal, especially when you're dealing with private money. Because like I said, like I didn't know this right here, as far as the borrower may own to cover, like me signing this document, I basically said that if I would have sold this property, let's just say for some strange reason, the market took a major downturn, and now this property, instead of it being worth, like I said, like 52 on the hot market, if I would have put it on like a wholesale type of thing, it was like 51,000, 52,000. But if I would have did like an actual, put it on an MLS in that current condition, I still could have probably sold it for like 60. But either way, let's just say now it's worth $30,000, because the market just took a turn within the term. The market took a turn within the term of me having this private money agreement. Now this the lender, the person who I'm borrowing the money from, they can go, and any other properties that I own, they can go ahead and sell those properties and put a mortgage against those properties, forcing me to sell those properties to pay the sum that I owe them, that difference being the $18,000 or however much more value that it loses. Now, this is layered, right? It's so layered because like this is a business within itself. Like it's cool because like there's other loopholes around it. And like, remember I say like your reputation ultimately is the main thing, but like you still want to make sure you're protecting yourself. So like on your side, being like me, my side, investor, if you're watching this, real estate specialist, if you're watching this, you can still protect yourself because what's signing off on here is an LLC, right? So though I'm the sole member, means I'm the owner of this LLC. That means that this LLC that I own, they can only get the properties that I own in this LLC, not in a different LLC. And then it could go into legal battles with court. They have to get more, but then that just becomes a big thing. So if you wanted to make it that big of a thing, it could, but ultimately they have to go directly to this LLC, right? So not any other LLCs or anything else that you own, which is a good thing, you know what I'm saying? Just protecting yourself to know that. But at the same time, you know, to be aware of this clause right here is a big thing as well. So that's if sale proceeds is less than $48,000. Now, again, like I said, watching this as a financial lender, this is another reason why you want to have the property in, or have the actual, you know, property in your name. Have the property in your name, because when I sell the property, you pay me, right? So I just did all this work, you know what I'm saying? I done fixed up the property. I done fixed up the property. I done work to, you know, find a buyer for the property that I just fixed up. And at the end of it all you do is come to the closing table, sign your name, and pay me. And walk away with, you know, your 48,000 plus your interest that you've already had. So and then plus your any other payments that you've had to do, you know, any other payments that you had to pick up, you know, being attorney costs to draft documents, and also any other payments, right? So, you know, it works two different ways, guys. Like, I'm just trying to give you the game both ways. And it's helpful to understand it both ways, because where I imagine myself, where I want to be and where I will be, is being a person that's able to lend money and have my money work for me. But, you know, me getting there is me coming through this, right? So me being 2020, I did my first one, you know, back in that 2020 time. This wasn't my first one, but I did do my first one back in 2020. So this being said, me doing these since that 2020 time, it's like I'm working my way to become the person that's just able to lend people money. So like, I understand the game, being able to lend people money, and how do you make sure you maximize your profit as well, and just read through the words that I'm saying on both sides. But at the same time, I understand the game as far as making sure that I'm doing all my work. I want to make sure I maximize my profit as well. So this being said, guys, you got to understand on which lane that you're able to insert in, you know, find which path that you insert in. But it's definitely, it's imperable. It's like you have to know what you're doing on both sides of the spectrum in order to be able to maximize your profit on the side that you're on. So this being said, guys, as you can see, the maximum time for the borrower to sell the property is 1 year, starting the day the lender purchases the property. If borrower fails to pay its monthly obligation on time, or fails to maintain the property at a professional level for sale, or it is over 1 year from the date of the purchase, lender has the absolute right to dispose of the property at the discretion of lender on terms and conditions it deems appropriate, may rent or enter into a contract of lease to own, or any outright sale. Borrower will be responsible for any shortfall that lender may suffer to the extent of its investments, including all principal, interest, fees, and costs incurred by including any such items set forth in paragraph 7 hereof. So this is another one that I had, you know, reading back, I wish I'd had an attorney look at just to explain it to me more, but like now hindsight 2020, I understand it, what it means. And, you know, I still would have signed it, but I would have just understood more. But this being said, though, what this means is that I had 1 year to sell the property, but if I would have defaulted on my loan, or if I didn't keep the property up to code, like I told back in that other one as far as the rehab, if I didn't do any of that, then the borrower or the lender, they had the right to do whatever they wanted as far as the sell, right? They had the right to do whatever they wanted as far as how they wanted to sell the property. They can sell the property, they can rent out the property, lease the owner. They can do whatever they want to get their money. That's basically the bottom line. So that's something that you got to understand to stick. You got the really hold up your end of the bargain if you're borrowing the money. Excuse me. Who knew we'd be talking so much? Okay. So you have to understand that if you're going to be, borrowing the money, you have to understand the obligations as far as what comes with borrowing the money. And you have to understand what the lender can do to get their money back. This way you're not looking, if you miss a payment, the lender take the property. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. I was about to pay you next week. It's like, okay, for one, communication is through real estate, through any business, communication is key. Communication solves like 90% of everything just by being able to understand what's going on. But if you don't communicate, and if you're just, late on it, then they're going to, do what they got to do to get their money back. And this being said, you can't be looking crazy when that time happens. You got to understand what you get into before you get into it. So this is what this means. And also, like I said, this is one of the perks again. You can have this clause in there whether you have your name on title or not, right? Because name on title does mean something, but it doesn't mean everything, right? Because if you got your name on title, then people know that you're involved in the deal. If you don't have your name on the actual title, if your name isn't out there, but you're the financial partner, then you really winning more so, in my opinion, right? Because now people don't know your business, but you still got business going on. And like, that's dope, right? That's how you ultimately want to be. But this being said, if you do want to have your name out there, for promotional reasons, for other reasons, then you just want to make sure all your business is correct. If you are the financial partner and you're able to get your money back, and you got to have certain stipulations within this, right? And you got to understand, guys, this is the legal way of doing things, right? So there's other ways people can get their money back, but you want to make sure you're doing it legally. So the way you do it legally is by being able to have stipulations, and also by being able to understand what it means and how to, and execute those stipulations. And on the flip side of things, you need to understand how to get the person their money back and just create a win-win situation. That's what you get into it, right? A win-win is always how you win, no matter what deal you're getting into. All right. So in witness thereof, you got to have a notary public, a notary public. And then, that's it. Bang, we good. Now, that's this. And now our last one here is going to be the irrevocable continuing guarantee agreement, right? So this is basically saying what I am guaranteeing you, meaning that me as the debtor, me as the borrower, what do I guarantee you as the creditor, the person that's borrowing me the money, or the person that's lending me the money? So ultimately, what I'm guaranteeing you is that I'm going to pay your money back, right? Now, that comes with certain stipulations. Now, in Ohio law, you always have to go like which state. So that's key with all those documentations that you just saw. It was about the state that you were into. Although I was in a different place, this lender was in that place, but it doesn't matter. It's all about the place that you're conducting business. That's the main thing. All your documentation has to be the place that you're conducting business. Just understand that, right? So no matter, let's just say, for example, if I had a lender that was in California, I'm in Florida, but we're buying in Ohio, then that means that they have their address, I have my address. It can be a P.O. box, their address, whatever the address is. But this contract that we're getting into is under Ohio law because that's the place that we're conducting business. So this is something to understand, but here we go right here. All this really states, and I can go through and like read it to you guys verbatim, but exactly what it states is that they can get their money back pretty much, let me go ahead and read it for you. For and in consideration of the extension of credit and the continuing extension of credit and the loan of money and the contract to purchase, rehab, and sell the property known as the property address and other good and valuable consideration, the recipient or the receipt of which is hereby acknowledged, we, or either of us referred to as guarantors, agreed jointly and severally to pay to the private money lender, referred to as the creditor. Successors are assigned at their address in the city of any and all indebtedness of or other liability fixed or contingent which D'Angelo, the debtor, his address, may now or at any time owe the creditor, together with interest, attorney fees, and collection costs, guarantors waive diligence upon the part of the creditor in the collection of any and all indebtedness, protest, notice of dishonor of any instrument and all extensions that may be granted to the debtor. And the creditor will be under no obligation to notify us or either of us of its acceptance of this agreement, nor of any advances made or credit extended on the face of the agreement, nor of the failure of the debtor to pay the indebtedness as it matures, nor to use diligence in preserving the liability of any person on the indebtedness, or in bringing suit to enforce collection of the debt due under the guarantee. We, or either of us agreed that we will pay any attorney fees should this contract be placed in the hands of attorney for collection, or should it be collected through any court. In consideration of lender making the loan, the guarantors have agreed to jointly, severally, irrevocably, and unconditionally guarantee lender the indebtedness upon the terms and conditions provided herein. It is further agreed that this guarantee is to be governed by Ohio law. Like, guys, look, that's one thing about like legal terminology. Like, you see how I'm reading it? Like, it sounds so, I don't know, it's always so like wordy like this, but all this basically like says like, it's basically guaranteeing everything that we signed, right? So everything that we signed off on is guaranteeing that I live up to that, which is like, you already live up to it, like when you sign it. But this is basically saying like, you can't take them to court, you can't fight it. Like, you're gonna take this. Like, you're gonna take this. You can't do nothing about it. Everything that you guaranteed, you guaranteeing it. So this is all this is stating right here. Like, I know it sounds so wordy, but like it's saying like also if you want to go ahead and try to fight it, then you're going to have to pay for those attorney costs, my attorney costs, meaning your attorney costs being a financial partner. You have to pay for my attorney costs. You have to pay this, that, and the third if you fight any of the terms that you've already guaranteed, right? So you can't do nothing about what you've already guaranteed. That's all it's basically saying, which I know sounds crazy, like as far as the words, but the wording of it, but like legally it does make sense, right? So being the person that's lending the money, it makes sense why you're going to want somebody to sign this, right? Because people can come back and say, oh, wait, like I just said, I didn't understand as far as me having other properties that they shout something have happened back in that time where the actual market took a downturn. I did not understand that they can come and take all my other property just to pay back that loan, right? So I could have fought that. And then if I would have fought that, it would have been like, okay, you already agreed to it. And I was like, I didn't understand it. Okay, so we can fight it. But if you want to fight it, then you're about to pay for my greatest attorney that I'm about to get. And then my greatest attorney is about to do the greatest work ever. And you're going to have to pay for all their great work as well. So, and the reason why you want to do that is because you signed off on that as well. Now, you probably didn't understand that because you didn't understand this. So it's just something that you really have to understand what you're getting into with the contract, right? Like there's so many different things. There's so many layers to it. And it's like you're saying the same thing, but it's meaning something way different. And it's getting like it's stressing the meaning even more. So you'd want to get an attorney when you're dealing with paperwork. Secure note. So this is just in addition to the protection given to the creditor under this guarantee, the guarantor, me, the borrower, has also executed the contract with the creditor on the real property located at the address. Waiver of a jury trial. Borrower and blank, the borrower and the lender, hereby jointly and severally waive any and all right to trial by jury in any action or proceeding relating to this instrument and to any of the loan documents, the obligation here under or thereunder, any collateral securing the obligations or any transaction arising therefrom or connected thereto. Borrower and lender each represents to the other that this waiver is knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily given. Look at that, right? So remember, you go back and you're like, I don't agree with this. You can't even take them to jury trial, right? You can't even do a jury trial. Warrant of an attorney. The undersigned authorizes any attorney at law to appear in any court of record in Hamilton County, Ohio, or in any court of record in the jurisdiction of which the undersigned against which or whom a judgment is then sought may then reside, or in any court of record in the jurisdiction in which the property described in the mortgage executed of date herewith is located, or in any court of record in any jurisdiction outside of Ohio After the indebtedness evidence hereby becomes due and waive the issuing and service of process and confess judgment against the undersigned in favor of the payee for the amount then appearing due, together with cost of suit, and thereupon to release all heirs and waive all rights of appeal and stay of execution. Okay, so that right there, like, I'm gonna be real with you, like that one, like I still would probably need an attorney to understand that. But like to me, it's just basically saying like you can have an attorney. There's no like jury trial, but you can have an attorney. An attorney has to come like to the court that you guys agree with. Then that's basically like what that means to me. But like I said, that's the thing about legal terminology. Like they say so much, and it really only means one thing, but it just sounds like it's like so much deeper than that. But that to me is what that just meant. This being said, guys, the waiver of jury trial is like a big thing. Like I said, that means that you can't go and say like, was this fair or not? There's no issuance on like, was this fair? Like, no, like, what you mean, was it fair, nigga? Like, my bad. But like, it makes like some stuff just be funny because like, it's all in black and white. When you're dealing in business and when it's black and white, like you really can't fight it. You just got to be like, okay, this is what I signed. It makes stuff so much simple. But at the same time, it can make things complicated if you don't understand what you're getting into. But it's really simple if you understand what you're getting into. Okay? So here's everything. Warning, by signing this paper, you give up your right to the notice and court trial. If you do not pay on time, a court judgment may be taken against you without your prior knowledge, and the powers of a court can be used to collect from you regardless of any claims you may have against the creditor, whether for returned goods, faulty goods, or failure on the creditor's part to comply with the agreement or any other cost. Like, I didn't even see that. Like, look at that. Like, I don't know if I would have signed it with that. Like, I know my intent, I had good faith, coming into it. Always enter contracts in good faith. That's another thing with clauses, right? If you can prove that somebody's not entering the contract in good faith, then you can actually null and void the contract. So like, you have to prove it though, right? But like good faith means like you're entering with good intention. You're entering this contract with the intent to execute this contract, not entering this contract with the intent to not execute this contract. That's what good faith means. So if you're entering it with good faith, then this part right here, like it shouldn't matter. But at the same time, like this is why being a business, right? If you're somebody that's making private money lending a business, then you want to know what you're doing. So this person who's lending me private money, like I said, this is their business. Big private money lender. This is what they do. This being that this is what they do, they understand that, I didn't really know what I was doing. Clearly, I wasn't even reading the documentation. So me signing this, I couldn't do nothing about anything, no matter if I felt like they did anything bad on their part, right? Like that's a huge thing when you think about that. And if I did find anything wrong with it, again, remember, I can take them to court, but I have to pay for everything, right? So there's no jury, no jury. So we can go, mediation and all that. But at the same time, they get their great lawyers that does great work, that charges great prices for them, that I pay all of it, and I agree to paying it because I signed this document. And then also, if I feel like they did anything wrong, so I can say, like, I feel like, I don't know what it would be, especially in a private money lending situation. That's the thing about this situation that's good. Like when you are taking private money, and they're giving you the ability to do the rehab and to actually deal with the property and sell the property however you want, that's in there as well. You're able to sell the property however you want within that year time frame. All you gotta do is pay them their money, like I explained to you guys in the first episode. But this being said, when you're in this situation, like as a private money lender, you just want your money, right? So you most likely are entering it with good faith, right? You want your money, you got your stipulations, you got your details, you want to get at least $2,500 out of it, which gives you however much money you want to get. You just want your money back, and you want your money. So you are most likely entering it in good faith. But at the same time, like, you just, on your behalf, there's nothing that you technically can do unless, you want to come in and change the actual details of the agreement while we went into it. I'm just trying to like brainstorm it now because, like I said, this was something that when I was reading, I was like, dang, like I didn't know that. But at the same time, there ain't really much you can do. And that's something that as a real estate specialist is really good knowing that, gives you peace of mind so that your private money lender really can't do much to the actual deal itself that really impacts it. Like, they're really on your team, right? It's you and your private money lender versus everybody else. That's how you gotta look at it, right? Like, you and your private money lender are one. Y'all are one team, and it's you versus the world. And keep it that way, because now what happens is, once you execute this, they want to lend you money again, right? They're like, okay, yeah, we did that. Let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. Now you're like literally the person that's working their money, right? Like, you're literally making their money work. Like, their money's working for them, but you're the person that's making it work. So what does that mean? Like I said, it's you and them versus the world. So they're looking like you, like, hey, what we gonna do? How we gonna make it? He making it come. He making it come. You making their money work for him. On the flip side of things, you got somebody that's willing to make your money work for you, that's going out there willing to do everything and bringing you back the cake, and you able to just sign off on it or whatever else, then you in a good situation, right? So it's really great to understand this on both sides of the spectrum. Like I said, guys, in the beginning, me coming into this business, I learned about this through a pop culture medium. And that's what we are here with Steps to Success, a pop culture medium, right? So being able to attract, and entertain through the music itself, and through so many other avenues, through the culture itself, this is to attract you guys, just give you exposed to a different way of thinking of how to become successful and how to really attain generational wealth, right? Like, when you really think of it, like, that's the reason why we really in this, right? I want my kids, my people that's under me, to be able to, this is second nature to them, right? They're going to be showing how to do some whole other stuff that I don't even know yet. And this is how I look at the world. I look at the world like it's all a matter of what you unlock, right? Think about the power of the internet. The internet is great, but it's only great to the limits that you give it. And that's the same with AI, right? That's why I've been, involved in teaching myself about AI, because with AI, it's really great, but it's only great right now to the magnitude that you give it, right? Especially, chatbots and all that. Excuse me, guys. So when you think of it like this, it's a major difference, right? How you approaching business, how you approaching the world, and how you're impacting the world, right? Just by having a seed of knowledge, it's going to sprout, it can sprout, and really will sprout into a whole different thought pattern. And our thought patterns is what control the world, if you ask me, right? Because where does thoughts come from? They come from outside of you. Your thoughts literally come inside of you. Like, that's not a question. This is proven. So that means your thoughts are vibrating around you, which is why your environment is very important as well, who you surround yourself with, because there's wavelengths that's happening, right? This is how you hear music. This is how Bluetooth works. All of this is one and the same. So just by doing stuff like this and by training your brain, you got to recognize the AI, artificial intelligence, is artificial intelligence. You have real intelligence in your brain, right? So this AI, it teaches itself. AI teaches itself, which is how it keeps learning, right? This is why right now the open AI is open, right? It's open AI. The reason why it's open is because the more you input it, the AI teaches itself. It's the same way with your brain as a human. The more knowledge you give it, the more stuff you give it, it teaches itself. It makes connections. Same thing that we're doing right now with Steps to Success in the music industry with real estate. Brain is teaching itself to make connections. And with these connections, it's really going to change the thought patterns of people around the world. So this is what we're doing here with Steps to Success. This is the movement. You as a stepper on your journey of success, you're going to be involved with paperwork, no matter, as far as with contracts, no matter if you do decide to work in the traditional workspace, being, working at a job. You're still going to have to sign some form of documentation. Now, the risk may not be as high. The reward may not be, that risk reward factor may not be as major as something like this. You may not be risking signing over all of your assets if you don't execute the deal. It may not be that type of situation, but in any scenario, you want to understand what you're signing. And by actually taking the time to read the contract and actually taking time to Google the words that you're reading and stuff like that, you'll be in a way better off position. And you'll be affecting the thought patterns of the people that you go around in a major different way. Because now you understand the world just a little, you understand the layers, right? There's layers to the world, guys. And that's the biggest thing, right? The internet is only as good as what you search, right? If you're searching like, how is the sky blue? You never know what you'll find, right? I don't even know. But the point is, like, that's kind of little, like, as far as me searching, like, one of my biggest things I used to search when I was like freaking 16, 15, I was like, how to be a millionaire, right? I used to always search that, how to be a millionaire, how to be financially free. I used to search this at 15, 16. I just wanted to know how. It was like one of the biggest things to me, just how. And when you think about it, like, me looking back, hindsight 2020, me wanting to know how is probably why certain things came to me, because I just wanted to know how. I was genuinely that curious, and that curiosity hasn't faded at all, because it's not even about millions now. It's like, how do I change? Like, how do I make my impact, my blueprint on this world? And that's led to so many different things. So you as a stepper that's reading stuff and that's learning stuff, and just keep filling up your cup, keep learning stuff, because you're changing the world just by learning these things and also implementing these things into action. Me teaching you guys about this is major difference than me just doing this, right? Me 2 years ago be willing to teach myself on how to do this, which came from me willing to watch some YouTube videos, just like, okay, how this work, okay, I can get a private money lender, like, okay, what do I have to say to my private money lender? All of that led to this present moment. Like, when you really think about how life works, guys, never stop learning, never stop teaching yourself, never stop stepping. As always, get to stepping. I love you, steppers. Deuces. Hey, we just went in on this one. Damn.